Hey everyone out there, hope everyone's having an awesome weekend. Welcome back all my friends in the reptile community and on YouTube to another episode of Prehistoric Companions. I'm Dylan, this is Philo, my 10-year-old male bearded dragon, and today we want to talk a little bit about bearded dragon husbandry. Now, when you hear the term husbandry, it often pertains to the care or cultivation of keeping and raising animals. In the reptile community, herpetoculture community, it refers to, the overall care and keeping of live reptiles and amphibians, providing them the appropriate tank sizes, enclosures, the right lighting, the right heating, humidity, everything that they need for the specific species to thrive, as Philo's trying to get away here. Got all kinds of energy today. Now, I love bearded dragons. They're pretty social creatures. They're genuinely interested in what people are doing. They're caregivers like me. Like, they kind of just always watch me, whatever it is. They always have an eye on me, whatever it is I seem to be doing around the house. They're a great size to handle. They're not a super small and delicate lizard like a lot of geckos are, and they're not super enormous where they could potentially hurt you pretty bad. So they're, like, in my opinion, like a perfect handling size lizard. Now, as much as I love these guys, I don't have any intentions on breeding them because, in my opinion, there are just so many bearded dragons in the world as it is. Every time I go into like a Petco or some exotic pet store, they always have baby bearded dragons. So there is no shortage of them whatsoever. So I will always probably keep them and have them and just appreciate them and have fun taking care of them. So as far as their husbandry goes, they aren't terribly difficult animals to keep. They are, in my opinion, a step up from a beginner species. I would say they are more of an intermediate reptile to keep because they do require quite a bit more than what is let on. So you have to stay on top of their lighting and what appropriate substrate you can use for them. They do require a pretty varied diet. So baby bearded dragons, from the time they're hatchlings to about 3 months of age, can reach sizes of about around 9 inches, so they grow pretty fast. And then within 18 months, you should have a full-grown bearded dragon, anywhere from 22 to 24 inches. And this guy probably weighs just about 2 pounds. Last time I weighed him, he was actually around the 600-gram mark, so he's a pretty hefty lizard. So as babies, you really want to give them lots and lots of bugs. So crickets, mealworms, superworms, waxworms, silkworms, soldier fly larvae. In my opinion, dubia roaches are the best. They are the most nutritious, lots of protein, so if you can start your own dubia roach colony, I highly recommend that. Then as they grow into adulthood, they're about 80% of their diet should consist of like greens, so like not lettuce, because lettuce is more water content and doesn't really have a lot of nutritional value, but stuff like dandelion greens would be like the most natural greens that you could offer them because dandelions grow everywhere. Dandelion greens, mustard greens, collard greens, turnip greens, those are all really great options as staples for your bearded dragon. Of course, you could feed them things like yellow squash or zucchini, butternut squash. Those things will actually help kind of keep their teeth clean, so those are really good food options as well. Now, my bearded dragons are pretty fussy. I kind of spoiled them a little bit, and they don't really want anything to do with their greens, so right now I'm having to create slurries for them. So mixing water, and I have a blender, so I'll put their greens in a blender and blend them up real fine and make kind of like a smoothie consistency and try and get their greens in them that way, because they just absolutely don't want nothing to do with it. They'll always eat their bugs if I give them roaches or superworms. They love superworms. So something I'm trying to work towards them getting back on eating on their own. The thing of people that don't really anticipate or think about when they're purchasing a bearded dragon, oftentimes babies will cost around $50 to $70 on average, and they don't really think about the long-term expenses. Lately I've been taking these guys to the vet and getting their checkups and things, and that's where it kind of starts to add up a little bit with the vet trips and things, but it's necessary. I highly recommend, even if you suspect you have a healthy bearded dragon, you always want to get an annual checkup, get a fecal sample done. So as far as the insects that I feed them, they are all highly gut loaded. I give the dubia roach colony that I have all the essential greens and things that I would want my animals to be ideally eating. So every time I offer the roaches, they're nicely gut loaded, and probably 3 to 4 times a week I'll dust them with calcium or dandelion leaf powder. Then maybe 2 or 3 times a week I'll do a multivitamin, dust them with that. Supplements are really important for the longevity of your bearded dragon, so you definitely want to make sure that you're providing the appropriate supplements and giving them not too often, but that they're getting them several times a week. Now the supplements will also work in conjunction with their special lighting. So back here I have, on the hot side, I use mercury vapor bulbs, which put out nutrient lighting and heat, UVA. So I keep the hot spot around 100 to 105 degrees, and they won't sit in that the whole time, like basking for a long time. They'll get their body temperature up to where they want it, and then they can move around the enclosure, and they like to maintain a body temperature of around 95 degrees. So on the cool end, I try to keep it between 75 and 80. That's about consistently what it is here in my house. On the cool side, I have more UVB, a desert UVB bulb. Ideally, it'd be nice to have a UVB bulb spanning the whole length of the tank, but no matter where these guys go, they have nutrient lighting, so they aren't having to decide. If you only have heat but no UVB on one side, but they need to be warm, then you're forcing them to have to heat up and then go get UVB and then have to go back and get more UVB. So these, you don't want to have them make that option. So you want UVB spanning the whole length of the tank. Baby bearded dragons can be housed in 40-gallon tanks, and as they grow older, a 75-gallon like what I have here on both tanks will do, but ideally these are very active animals, and eventually I'm going to upgrade them. I do anticipate on moving here pretty soon, sometime this year, to a larger place. So I would love to absolutely upgrade these guys to 120 gallons or larger, so they'll absolutely use all the space. Now they're bedding. You definitely don't ever want to use calci sand. You can find this at Walmart or a lot of pet stores. You don't ever want to use that, along with heat rocks. Heat rocks are bad. Bearded dragons like to bask. They're sun-loving animals, so that's why you want to provide heat from above and the lighting. And you don't want to use those heat rocks for any animals, because they could severely cause like burns to your animal, and they're just not good. They're garbage. Calcium sand is not good either. That could cause impaction. So what happens is the animal, they could ingest it, and when it gets wet, it like clumps into a ball and it remains solid. So if you use loose substrate in your tank, you want to get like an organic, like playground sand for like kids sandboxes. That's safe. If it gets wet and it clumps up, it won't clump up, it'll just disintegrate, and that same thing is going to happen if your animal accidentally ingests it. So for the most part, I have in their tanks, I use tile, and I created like these farms using foam and climbing structures, and I use sanded grout and an eco-friendly sealer, so they have multiple places to go up and climb. And the sanded grout kind of helps keep their nails nice and filed down, so they're softer as he's like climbing and trying to get away. He's not really scratching up my hands. Primarily have them on tile that's really easy to clean, and I do have caves for both my male and my female up here, filled with substrate consisting of a little bit of coconut fiber, the coconut husk, and the loose organic children's play sand. So that'll give them options. I like to have options for these guys. If they want to be on loose substrate, they can. If they want to be on tile, they can do that. but I want them to try and display a lot of natural behaviors. They like to dig and burrow, and especially female bearded dragons. They, even if the female doesn't have a male to breed with, she may still possibly lay infertile eggs, so you definitely want to have a spot where she can go and dig and have a place to lay her eggs if she needs to. So I just get so much joy and satisfaction out of keeping bearded dragons. Like I said, I've had him for about 10 years now. They'll live between 12 and 15 years, quite possibly. I've even heard of dragons living even older than that. I've heard some people say that they've had them for up to 20 years if you take care of them properly. So you definitely want to do lots of research, continuously be doing research, get your annual checkups, make sure you're providing them the right diets, the right lighting. Every 6 months you want to be changing out your UVB bulbs at between 6 and 9 months ideally. You know, they'll not gonna crank out like all that nutrient lighting forever, so you want to change those. So just always be doing your research and always try to improve the way that you're keeping your animal. These guys are absolutely amazing. They're fun to hang out with, they're docile, they're interested in what you're doing. These guys will often kick it with me while I'm making lunch or dinner or watching movies, or I'm even an artist. I do artwork. Speaking of artwork, I'm doing 100 subscriber giveaway, so smash that subscribe button. If you like content about reptiles, different reptiles and artwork, that's what my channel is all about. So when we hit 100 subscribers, I'm going to do a giveaway for some custom functional reptile art. I'll put a card up in the corner so you guys go check that out. So I hope you guys found today's video educational, entertaining. Thank you so much for checking out the channel. I greatly appreciate your support. Now I post every Friday and Sundays. I'm trying to maintain consistency. So be sure to tune in and check out some of the other videos that I've posted. And with that being said, today is Sunday, so I hope you guys have an awesome week. Stay safe out there in this crazy world of ours. And Philo and the Prehistoric Companions and I will see you guys on Friday. Alright? Whoa. Say bye to everybody, Philo. Alright, you guys. Peace.